Welcome to the Passages from the Heart podcast, a podcast featuring real people sharing real stories about adventure out on the water. I'm your host, Shell Hart. Hello, sailors and other water enthusiasts. It's your host, Shell Hart here, back at ya with a little bit of an update, just a quick pod to fill you all in some little bit of turn of events with the direction in which the old sailor gal here is heading, a little bit of a change in course. Oh, and I just wanted to also give some shout outs to some really amazing listeners who have reached out to me. So I want to give a shout out to Eric. I want to give a shout out to Darren. I want to give a shout out also to Warren. And I want to thank you guys for just letting me know that you're out there listening and you're getting something out of this content. It's those sorts of things that give me a large part of the motivation for doing this, because creating community is what it's all about for me here. I just love connecting with people, sharing our stories, learning from each other, supporting one another. That's what it's all about, folks. So yeah, thanks so much to all you guys that are out there listening and supporting this show. As I always like to say, it really means the world to me. I originally, when I last left you all, had talked to you about how I have been actively boat shopping, and specifically boat shopping for a couple of other Com-Pac models, day sailor models, specifically gaff rig cat boats. The Sunday Cat, which is a larger cockpit with a little small cuddy, enough space to throw in some life preservers and a little porta potty. Com-Pac always advertised it as a place to duck into out of the rain, but not enough room for sleeping, which would be then, if you're looking to camp out, you might be interested instead in the Com-Pac Sun Cat. So the boats are a little over 17 feet long, a little over 7-foot beam, a fixed shoal draft keel with a centerboard, again, gaff rigged. And the attractive thing to me was the hinged mast, as they call it, the mast tender system was, I think, the technically the name that Com-Pac gave to the system that they designed for easily rigging these boats, which again is really what appealed to me, because as you might recall, I talked about how I'm missing the one huge thing that I've been missing since I started getting back into sailing, because I'm no spring chicken anymore, and it's been little over 5 years, almost 6 years, what am I talking about, that I started sailing again. And the old body is, even in that short period of time, it's really actually kind of a long period in terms of the human lifespan, I think, because things change quite a bit with the physical body. All the more so, I think, once you hit the age of 40, I think I would say that things start changing pretty rapidly. So pretty much between 20 to 30, I don't really notice a huge difference. 30 to 40, maybe a little bit of difference with my physical ability level. But definitely between 40 and 50, and certainly 50 plus. I'm not afraid to tell you I'm 56. Proud of it. And things definitely have changed with respect to my physical ability, and it's not because I'm out of shape or anything like that. It's just I'm not as strong as I once was. So yeah, the Sunday Cat and the Sun Cat were definitely models that in my mind seemed like they would be the way to go. So I've spent inordinate amounts of time researching these models, whether it be just through anecdotal information shared on the Com-Pac Yacht Owners Association. And as I mentioned, I reluctantly reactivated my Facebook account for specifically boat shopping. But I've also been lurking on some of the Com-Pac pages that I've joined, just to sort of, again, gather some anecdotal information on these boats. And then, of course, what I know from them from just speaking with representatives of Com-Pac when they were open at the time, specifically Jerry Hutchins, who was one of the brothers who had owned the Com-Pac yachts. But yeah, so I feel like I've educated myself fairly well on things that I need to be mindful of when boat shopping for those models. For example, when those boats were first made, there was actually the open boat Suncat, which I think that goes back, I want to say that model goes back to, I don't know, the 60s, and it was not made by Com-Pac, I don't believe initially. I don't know. I think it was a Clark Mills design. Don't quote me on that, but somewhere along the line, that boat existed. And then I think somehow Com-Pac got in the mix with that. And from that, they, I think, started producing, I think, again, don't quote me, on some open boat Suncat models. So no cabin at all, no cuddy at all, just bench seats right in the cockpit, the whole length of the boat, basically. I think there might have been a little anchor locker or something like that. But the Suncat, the boat with the cabin, I believe was born, I want to say either late 90s or early 2000s. I think the earliest I've seen is a 2002 model. And those boats, the first iteration of the cabin model, if you will, they, and again, I might have mentioned this before, but they had stainless steel centerboard trunks. The mainsail sheeting was mid-boom, which I actually prefer that, if I'm being quite honest there. With the older models, like I said, I really was kind of leaning more towards getting a well-loved older model, well taken care of older model, because I do like the idea of having mid-boom sheeting. Although the Traveler does, is situated basically in front of the companionway, which I know usually actually I don't really prefer that sort of setup, but in this situation, I actually would prefer it. And the reason being is that in the models later that were produced, and I believe I think it was after 2007, I think, is when they started making the boats with the mainsail sheeting is on the aft end of the boom. And that is how my Legacy and my Com-Pac 23 are also rigged. And because those boats have outboard engines, you on the Legacy, you have what's called a stern arch again, but it's where the mast rests. When you unstep the mast, it drops down onto this little stern arch. There's a little cutout in there for it. And also attached to that are some welded in cleats. So that's where your aft end or cleats for your stern are located on that apparatus. And it makes kind of between that and the main sheet, reaching through to get to your outboard engine, just a little cumbersome, a little tricky. And the same is true with the 23 in my humble opinion. It's a little tricky trying to, like, for example, in my ASA course, I think it was 10, whatever the first one is, I can't remember, the keel boat class. The instructor, actually, no, it was 103, I think. She wanted us to have one hand on the tiller and one hand on the tiller on the outboard for example, when we were practicing backing up off the dock or in that sort of situation, tight maneuvering. And it's kind of tricky. It's a little like that, rub your stomach, pat your head at the same time sort of thing. And anyway, using that sort of scenario with the way that my 23 and Legacy are rigged, it's a little tricky because it's hard to kind of get your hand through that, your hand onto the outboard tiller and have one hand on it's hard enough just with using, yeah, anyway, I'm digressing. The point is that it's a little tricky. So that's why I'm thinking, let's go with an older model with the mid-boom sheeting, kind of gets rid of that. It's in a different area of the boat. And it kind of makes me think back to my days of when I would sail like little mini fish, for example, or I used to have a Phantom too. And, you just kind of have your main sheets always in, for me, my left hand, and my tiller was always in the right hand. So for me, that setup is kind of, I'm comfortable with that. And that's sort of how I envisioned it would be with this mid-boom sheeting with these older Suncat models. But the other thing that really gave me pause with these older models is this whole stainless steel centerboard configuration. And a lot of folks, if you kind of dig deep into this, are sharing stories about how they tend, especially if boats are used in saltwater conditions or brackish conditions, that there's going to be corrosion issues. And so for that reason, some people were trying to advise me, hey, you might want to consider the later models when the switchover occurred, I think again in 2007 maybe, or maybe 2006, like somewhere in there. I think 2007, that they switched from centerboard or stainless steel to the fiberglass, so that, kind of can take that worry of corrosion off of your mind, so to speak. So I made several inquiries into various boats about these things. Some people were not aware of the situation with the corrosion and the salt water and the older models, but these boats, because of the mast hinge, this mast tender system. So I'm kind of learning some of this terminology here. So the mast stub, which I mistakenly was calling the tabernacle, and I'm not sure that I really still understand quite what the tabernacle is, because I'm reading different people are describing it in different ways. So I'm still unclear on that. But for the purposes of this conversation, when I say the mast stub, it's the part of the mast that's the little short piece that's stepped or attached to the deck of the boat. And from there then is a hinge or where the mast stops. And then the rest of the mast lays on top of the rest of the boat from that point aft at like a 90-degree angle, right? It's laying there in its de-rigged position, if you will, resting in what they call the boom gallows on the aft end of the boat itself. But what I have understand is happening is that, so you have all of your sail slugs for the sail, right? And then you have some pins also that are supposed to help with assisting of keeping things where they need to be. And apparently what seems to happen to a lot of people or owners is that you're supposed to, when you have the boat de-rigged or the mast is down, all of these sail slugs, the entire sail, and then the boom, and I'm thinking it's the gaff as well as the gaff boom and the other boom. Again, I'm not sure if I'm calling everything the correct words here, but the idea is that all of those pieces of equipment need to rest on the mast stub, not above it. And if that's not all the way pushed down through the track or slid down, you are risking what they call a mast track widening issue, or some people call it butterfly wings. And basically, if you go to the Com-Pac forum website, you'll see some pictures. I actually started a thread there, a couple of them. One is called Crack and Mast, and then there's another one that I started. It's like some trepidation, some more advice, please, or something along that line, in which I'm saying, hey, I'm aware that this is an issue, this mast widening phenomenon or butterfly wings. Can y'all kind of, those of you who know of this or have seen it, can you share some pictures of this? So I have a Com-Pac friend who shared several pictures with me of different examples of some Com-Pac cat boats, anywhere from a sun cat to a Sunday cat to a picnic cat to a Horizon Day cat, Horizon cat, all those models where there was damage to the mast track. And also not just the widening or butterfly wings sort of components that can affect or afflict the mast track, but also it can crack. The actual mast can crack. So if you check out that thread that I started, you will see that there is a picture of a Suncat mast, and in the stub of the mast stub, towards the top of it, near the track, there's an actual crack there. So, some people were chiming in and basically saying, well, if you have an issue with the crack, take the boat to a welder. They can repair that. I'm sure it's an easy enough fix for some of what I'm hearing from some folks that have had this happen. And then the other solution with where the mast track actually widens or splays, or it gets these butterfly wings, the edges splay out, is people have talked about using a rubber mallet to sort of hammer things back into shape. Anyway, after I learned all of this information, I started having, I'm going to be honest, some second thoughts about these boats. And it's not because they're not great boats, because I know I love Com-Pacs. Like I said, I wanted to be a Com-Pac dealer. I was going to become a Com-Pac dealer in 2024. But as you know, lots of things changed, and that did not happen, primarily because Com-Pac went out of business, obviously. So that dream never materialized. But I love their boats, and I don't mean to say anything in a negative sort of light on it, because truth be told, really, this situation with the mast widening and butterfly wings and the cracking and all these things that can occur, from what I'm gathering, it is likely due to owners, I guess, not understanding the what can happen if certain steps are not taken to secure the rig properly and to store it properly. And over time, the continual sort of improper storage of the sail and the booms can create these issues, which later down the road become larger problems to address. And I like I said, I just, after kind of learning more about this, I started feeling kind of like, well, number one, I'm not sure if I'm really into wanting to, even if it's a good deal on a boat, because I did find a really good deal on one that wasn't too far away from me. I mean, within a day's drive, I'll say. And there was an issue with this crack, and I just thought, quite frankly, I don't know how to weld. And I don't know anybody around me that welds. And even if you do find a welder, it becomes a matter of, well, does this welder feel comfortable working on a sailboat mast? And a lot of times I've had other situations where, here's an example. I was having trouble finding someone to service my Tohatsu outboard engine. And they'll service a Mercury, they'll service some other brands, but I called to every single outboard engine outfit in my, within a 60-mile or so radius of where I live. And everybody would give me the song and dance that they're not, quote unquote, certified Tohatsu engine technicians, so they can't work on my engine, which is interesting because I think from what I heard somewhere else is that I think the people that make Mercuries also make Tohatsu, or it's the other way around, or I don't know, it's something and such like that. And so it seems kind of silly to me that they'd work on the Mercury, but they're not going to work on the Tohatsu. So what I ended up doing is taking that engine to a small engine repair guy who actually worked on riding lawnmowers and, just those sorts of small engines, if you will. And so while he was able to repair the carburetor issue that the engine had, what he didn't realize is that when he ran the engine to test it, he didn't think to put it in water so that the engine would be able to cool itself, right? Because it's using a water pump. And I'm no expert with outboard engines. I'm just going by what I was told and what I learned. So I might not be describing things accurately, but my understanding is that either the impeller or the water pump, something got fried out. And so because when he was testing the engine after repairing the carburetor, he didn't run the engine with a source of water to cool the engine, so that messed it up. So this is what I'm talking about. I mean, there's even if a welder does do this, I mean, I don't know. I don't know anything about welding. Maybe it's not a big deal. I just know that I didn't want to have to worry about trailering the boat someplace to figure this all out. It just, yeah, not a road that I decided I wanted to travel. So in betwixt and in between learning all this information about the sun cats and the mast ender system and all that, as attractive as all that is to me with the ease of use that it presents for somebody with one of these boats, I admit it really is something that sounds like it would be ideal. I decided that I wanted to change course and not continue pursuing these models. So you're probably wondering, well, okay, so what next then? And you're going to probably think I'm totally nuts, but I'm just going to be fully honest with you. You know, I have had over the past 5.5 years to 6 years almost 5 different Com-Pac models, 2 of which were the same. So 2 legacies, 2 23s, one of which was the diesel version, and I didn't end up keeping that one. I found a new captain for her, and then the 25. And I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot, not just about the boats, but about myself and where I am and where I want to go and where I want to be. And we all kind of have these ideas in our mind about, you know, I think a lot of us probably like me might think, here's what I see myself doing. So we're projecting into the future. This is how I see myself as a sailor. And I realized that all of these years, that's kind of the way I've been living my life, is for the sailor that I want to be, or I see myself being, which is, you know, as I envisioned with the Com-Pac 25, cruising around the Apostle Islands, exploring, and maybe one day even having a larger boat, like a 27 or, I don't know, 35, a Com-Pac 35, I don't know, and actually doing some offshore sailing. But as much as I encourage everybody to always chase after those dreams, and like I did, I chased after that dream. But what I learned as a result of doing that is that, you know what, this is something that I really love to do. I figured that out. I figured out that I love to do it. But the problem is that it was getting to be able to do those things. The mechanics of being able to do that, have that sort of lifestyle with the boat, wasn't falling into place. And if you don't know what I mean, I talked about that in my last episode, so I won't bore y'all with those details again. But in a nutshell, I realized that my lifestyle, the way that it is now, with the commitments and responsibilities that I have now, is not congruent with that lifestyle of wanting to cruise. And so I realized that as of right now, for where I am, it makes the most sense to just continue weekend sailing and day sailing, which certainly I can do that with my 23. But what I've also learned with that boat is that I've been kind of living in a little bit of a fairy tale land, because that boat is at the lake where I grew up sailing in the 70s and the 80s and the early 90s. And I think that I had this expectation that things were going to be as magical as they were back then for me at that place. And they have been in some ways. But I have learned that, you know, the past is a past, and I can't make that's not going to be the same for me then as it for now. You know what I mean? It's not very healthy mentally or emotionally to have that expectation that the way things were then is going to be how things are now. Back then I was a kid. Back then I wasn't the captain. I was just crew. You know, now I'm a captain. I'm the one who's responsible, you know, for all these things. And I don't mind the responsibility, but what I've learned is that, you know, where the boat is, the whole scene is not the same. There's very little community for sailors at this lake where I have my 23, and it kind of bums me out. I'm just going to be honest. I feel kind of melancholic when I go there, because I miss the camaraderie. I miss like seeing like 40 sailboats, like some on moorings and others scattered around the docks, and people getting together on the docks and hanging out, and the kids getting together and swimming off the dock. And, it just seemed like, I don't know, it was paradise for me. I mean, again, I was a kid, so things are going to be different between that kid's mind and the adult mind, right? But I think that it's just sort of time for me to close that chapter of my life and leave things for what they are, and learn what I learned in the last 5 years of being back on that lake. And it's a great lake for sailing. Oh my gosh, you almost always, you have some good wind to head out there, and it's, lots of places to kind of gunk hole and anchor out overnight and watch the stars. I mean, we never did that on our boat because, again, we were just day sailing primarily. One overnight that we did, but I did overnight all the time on the boat when I was a kid, and it was glorious. So I think that I'm probably going to list my 23 for sale this coming spring, reluctantly, but I think, as much as it's been so wonderful to have these different boats and to have them simultaneously, and again, I had all the boats simultaneously because that was sort of the arrangement I had made with Com-Pac at the time. To become a dealer, I had to have multiple models to be able to, like showcase, I guess, if you will. So now that I'm, obviously not doing that, I really want to scale it back. I want to scale it back and just have one boat and focus on this one boat. And what I decided, drum roll, here's the shocker, maybe not so much a shocker, is that I am going to either keep my legacy, or there's an opportunity to possibly purchase a brand new one. It's at a former Com-Pac dealership. The boat is actually a 2024 model, so it's technically not, it is a new model because it's never been titled, but it's not, it's been sitting on a lot for almost 2 years. It needs a home. And what attracts me to this particular boat is it has a roller furling head sail, which, sure, I could just install one on my current legacy. And I was going to circle back to why I don't want to do that, but I'll just get into it, I guess. The thing about that is that, okay, so that's another project I have to do. And the last 5.5 some plus years that I've been doing this, mostly it's been about boat projects, and I'm not naive about that. I know that's what's involved, and I'm not complaining because I love working on my boats. It's taking care of them is, to me, really important, and it enables us to get to know our vessels and become familiar with every nook and cranny, and I don't know, just kind of makes the love for the boat blossom even more. When you know that you're putting your blood and your sweat and your tears into this vessel, there's something to be said for that, as much as there is to be said for actually getting out in the water and sailing her. So, you get in what you put out. That's what I always say. You get in what you put out. You work on the boat's going to take care of you. You neglect her, don't be surprised if something goes cattywampus then, right? So anyway, sure, I could get a furling head sail for my current legacy, but it means another project. And like I said, coming full circle to those 5 years in the human lifespan, a lot can change. A lot can change in a day, or even less than a day, of course. But I want to spend more time sailing, guys. I want to spend more time sailing and still work on projects, but I would like to spend more time sailing. And, I have guilty feelings about my current legacy that I've never sailed the boat. I've had the boat 2 years and I've never sailed it. I've worked on the boat a lot. I've done a lot of work on the boat, but I've never had the boat in water. I've never sailed her. And again, because I'm juggling the time that I have between my other responsibilities, taking care of the 25 that was up in Lake Superior, taking care of the 23 that was at the local inland lake that's an hour and 20 minutes away. And you know what? Lessons learned. I need to be more focused right now. And, I also realized that is the project thing. Yeah, I don't mind that, like, okay, yep, I got to do the teak. Yep, I gotta, wash, wax, and buff the hull and do the bright work. Those things I'm good with, but I'm not sure if I'm up for putting on a furling system. Do I want to do that? I don't know. Maybe just sail the boat as it is, which is what people often say when you buy a new boat before you start getting into all these, I'm going to modify this and I'm going to modify that. Like, just sail the boat as it is, as long as it's safe. Sail the boat as it is and see what you think. And then from there, decide, like, okay, you know what? I'm not really digging this, so I think I'm going to have to change that. Okay. So that kind of makes sense. And I've never really given my boat, my current Com-Pac Legacy, that opportunity just to kind of sail the boat as it is. The boat does have a Hank-on head sails. The previous owner did outfit her with a jib down hull, which I always wanted to do with my other boat, but I never got around to it because I rehomed her for the 23 Charm that I have. So, certainly that will be helpful to have that jib down hull. And the idea behind it, the thing that I always sort of was, if I was to say I had one complaint, I guess I don't really like to use that word because I don't think it's really accurate. But the one thing I can say that about my first Com-Pac Legacy is that even though, there is a little room up there, there's not a whole lot of room up there to go up to Hank jib, your jib on, or if you have to switch out to a storm sail, and you're going up and the boat's rocking and rolling and it's the 16.5-foot boat and there's only just a wee bit of real estate up there. And my balance isn't like it used to be. So it would make me a little nervous from time to time. So that's why this other boat, this new 2024, it has the furling head sail all ready to go. And so that appeals to me greatly. It also, what appeals to me greatly is the idea of, well, it's a new boat. There still could be things, obviously, well, not could be, there will be things that will need to be addressed as far as the project list goes. But I might have a little bit more, like that's what having the new 2021 had taught me back in 2020 when I bought it at the end of the year, bought my first Legacy, is that, some of those boat projects, I didn't really have to worry about them too much because I had a brand new boat. So, like for example, you don't have to most likely, you don't have to worry about the centerboard pennant. Well, the centerboard pennant on my Legacy is almost 20 years old. It probably needs to be replaced. I don't have a hoist, and otherwise that means I'll have to dive under the boat, which, I don't know if I can hold my breath that long to do that or not. I don't know. The thing is, I don't have any help here. I've told you guys that many times. So I just kind of want to give myself an opportunity to just sort of enjoy the sailing a bit more. And, even my first mate, he's like, I don't know how many more years of pulling in jib sheets I can do. And I'm like, oh no, don't say that because, I want to share in this with him, but at the same time, I don't want to give it up if he can't do it either. It's hard, guys. It's a hard thing. So getting old ain't for sissies. Someone once told me that when I was 41 and she was like 63 or something like that. And she is right. So yeah. So I'm looking at this new 2024 and it's at, like I said, this former dealership for Com-Pac. And I have a friend rather, who happened to be interested in the boat too and learned some things about it and had been in touch with the dealer and was sort of passing along what he learned to me. And anyway, long story short, he decided not to go with the boat because he's going to get a different one instead, a different model that he had that is available at this dealership. And, so basically I'm like, okay, well, if he's not interested in the boat, I think I want to be more serious in seriously considering it for myself and for my first mate. And so, I guess he had passed along to the dealer that he might have someone else, an interested party, that is me. And so that guy, the dealer, had said to my friend, well, let her know I'll give her X amount of dollars for her current Legacy, her 2008, and I'll give her this price on the boat. And when that information came back to me, the first thing I thought was, this is too good to be true. But if this is what it is, I'm in. So the next day, which is today, happy Halloween, by the way, today's Halloween, I reached out and explained who I was, explained who my friend is, and that this is sort of the thing that was passed along to me, and just, I'm interested in this deal potentially, and let's kind of talk about it. Well, we start talking, and the first thing I learn is the deal that I thought I had in front of me is not the deal that I was going to get. And I am, I have no poker face. I am not a wheeler and a dealer. I was going to be a Com-Pac dealer, not because I was looking to make a mint off of it. For me, it was more of an encore career, if you will. And I was looking to do it because, first and foremost, I love sailing and I love sailboats and I love Com-Pacs. And I love talking to people and, learning about what they want to do with sailing and how I could help them find the sailboat that would work best for their goals. That gives me a lot of joy. I love to do that. But I am not a negotiator I negotiate, but I'm just not the kind of person who's looking for the angle to sort of come out on top sort of thing. That's just not how I'm wired. I don't do that. I'm just really straightforward. This is what I want. This is what I'm willing to pay. And, here, that's it sort of thing. But this guy's, he's been doing this for many years. And so for him, I'm sure it's maybe an art form to some extent, maybe a bit of a science as well. But he's saying apples and I'm saying oranges. And I don't know if this is going to work out. So my first reaction when he told me what he said the deal would be was, I'm out. Because you know why? Because I was a little bit miffed. I was a little angry. I was a little bit like, okay, wait a minute. This is sort of like the equivalent of clickbait. You're telling my friend this, and now I'm calling you to follow up on that lead, and now you're telling me it's some other song and dance, and I'm like, I'm not really digging that. So what I realized though, after I gave myself a couple hours, because I basically left things as I'm going to have to get back to you, because he wasn't going to give me the price for the trade-in on my boat that I wanted. And the boat that I wanted to buy, the 2024 model, was higher. The price was higher than what I had been told. So the it's too good to be true. Yeah, it was too good to be true, it turns out. So I'm not going to make any decisions while I'm angry. That's never a good thing to do. And I guess I wasn't really angry. I was just I was a little, ticked off, I guess, miffed, whatever. Hey, wait a minute. You're changing things up here on me. That's not what I was told or what I had the impression of. And I actually have it in writing too, to be honest with you. But anyway, that's neither here nor there, I guess, as the saying goes. So I'm just going to think about this. I'm going to think more about this situation and, I don't know, yes, there's a lot of things that could be really great with having a newer model as far as the project list goes. But more importantly, the reason why I was looking at this boat is because I have already a relationship with the Com-Pac Legacy. I understand how the boat sails in different conditions. I have what I would say is a comfort level with the boat. And that's kind of a nice thing to get. It's kind of nice to feel like you know your boat and you know how to work with her. It's like, a relationship with a friend. You kind of know how each other is, how you guys are going to react in different situations, sort of thing, and you get along really well because you have that history, that understanding of each other based upon experience, and things that you've been through together. And I can say that about the Legacy. I mean, although each one is going to be different, I agree, and the sales that I had on the other boat aren't the same as this one. And there's always those little nuances, but you know what I mean. You get the general drift of what I'm trying to say. And so that's where the compass heading is right now, guys. It's just, I'm going Com-Pac legacy for now. I'm pretty sure that's where I'm gonna stay, where I'm gonna land. And now that my dogs are starting to bark, I think this is a good time that I should probably sign off, and I will keep you posted about what happens. So stay tuned. If you are enjoying my podcasts, please consider following and or subscribing to my show. Your support truly means the world to me, as well as inspires me to keep bringing you stories from others out there with a passion for getting out on the water. Until next time, fair winds.